I was born and raised here in the Netherlands. I lived in America for a while, but I went to film school here in Amsterdam, where I live. And I've been a filmmaker for about 25 years or
Oh
so.
wow.
So
Okay.
I've been working in the film industry for a while. This film came about. I was actually working on a feature film that was supposed to be shot in the southwestern US,
Okay.
and then COVID came along, and everything stopped. And we thought, okay, it's probably easier to in these COVID times to try to do a short film because it's easier to set up and to do, with all the limitations that COVID had.
Right.
And a writer that I'd worked with before, Lisbeth Wiegers, very good screenwriter, said to me she had an idea. We had this idea before, but we sort of left it for a while. And it was not immediately about domestic violence, which is the main theme of the film, but about to look beyond, to don't always trust on the first glance, but to get a glance and then start thinking. That's more or less what she came to me with. And then we started working on it. She was we really worked together a lot, but she wrote it and then came to me on every draft, and we talked about it. And domestic violence was of course a very important theme from the beginning. But it was the very first idea was from her, not from me. Yeah, it was that glance, that second look that you have to take, that not at first glance, but a glance. So you get a glance and then look again, and in every direction. So for me, it was important not to just, of course, it is about the domestic violence, but we have other scenes in the film that don't directly touch that subject. But it's also about class for a little bit, because the guy, the pizza delivery guy, he goes to these more or less wealthy females that are of his age, and how do they perceive him, and what does he expect. And then he goes to this other house where ultimately he finds the woman that is being abused by her husband.
Right.
And but his perspective is also to not believe that immediately, because they're wealthy people. So it's not only about, if you see something, what do you see, but also about what do you expect to see, and don't always believe your expectation. That was a very good one. And also the visual style of the film was directed into that, with that thought in mind. How can it benefit? Well, the film itself benefits because hopefully if you do well, it helps you to get new work off the ground
Right.
easier.
Of course.
So, it's just like sort of a, so to say, show reel, or, whatever you would want to call it. As a sense of how festivals and audience can help, festivals can help by yeah, well, selecting and awarding films.
Okay.
Because, by doing that, other people will notice that this film is doing well, that it is appreciated around the world, and maybe even in different cultures, because this film is, we've won awards in the US, in Malaysia, and in, sort of like really different parts of the world. So
Right.
that sort of says, okay, so this film appeals to different kinds of audiences, which is nice, if that works. And in the sense of audiences itself, well, I don't know, mostly because you get interesting questions if you are able to travel to a festival, which is not the case too often, because usually it's just too expensive to travel all over the world.
Right.
Um, and for the filmmaker, him or herself, it is a thing of, how would I say that? It is rewarding to find out that people appreciate your film, which is you make this film and then it is finished and you sit at home and you have no idea if people are going to like it or not. So by screenings at festivals, when being able to be present or not, then you and people. I was at a festival here in Europe and I was able to travel there, and then elderly ladies, I think like in mid-70s or so, after the screening, they didn't speak English very well, came up to me and they said, in their best English they could come up with, they said, "We really liked your film. It's an important topic. You did well." And I really, that was really so great. And it was not a filmmaker who said that, or somebody who was supposed to give me money for a next project. Just, you know, two elderly ladies from the audience saying, "This is a very important topic. Thank you." I was like, okay, this is why you make films. You know, this is the reason to do it.